double check because LinkedIn is being linked in. No. Okay. So, hi,
Linked
everybody.
out.
We're linked out. We're not linked in. And that's where people are like, where are you? I am trying to log in, but it may not quite get there. I'm just gonna answer this. But Tiana, welcome to Big Questions Medium Coffee. I'm so excited to have you here. Sad that my Be Live is like, how do we log in? And I click on the login button and then it just does nothing. So we'll just I'm going to do a little bit of tech support, but welcome. Give us a little bit of an intro and I'm going to do a little bit of tech support on the other side. Tell us all about what you do and who you do it with.
Oh my. So hi, everybody. It is 9:00 in the evening for me here. I live in central France. My name is Tiana Dodson, and I am a body liberation coach and facilitator. I work with feminine of center folk to help them reclaim their bodies and figure out how to be with and in their fatness in this world that is so anti-fat and fat phobic. I also really somehow enjoy making the connections between systems of oppression and anti-fatness, and making sure that the people who come through my door and sit at the fire with me understand how to make those connections as well. So yeah, that's me. Hi.
Okay. We might not be live on LinkedIn, but I will put it up afterwards. So hopefully the people that were trying to catch us there will go back and watch it afterwards. But I wanted to do my little spiel about Big Questions Medium Coffee because this is the first one of 2022. And if you love this conversation and you want to hear more of them, please do head over to Create the Rules on YouTube. That is where the rest of the interviews are. There's quite a few and they are amazing. We did them throughout 2021 last year. But I'm hoping to do way more. I would love to do one every day. So if you also are a business owner and would like to be on Big Questions Medium Coffee, take a look at what Tiana and I are doing here today. And I love this. People are already commenting. Love this. Happy New Year! It's Happy New Year in the Create the Rules world. Now, Big Questions Medium Coffee. Now, this is my idea of a medium coffee. 20 ounces of hot Java bliss. But Tiana had given me this adorable sip of coffee with her branding on it. So let's go over this. It's Live Your Best Fat Life. So live your best fat life.
Oh,
and on the back, it says, my body, my rules, no opinions necessary. So first of all, I'm already living my best fat life. I do not have any, I have no problem saying that I'm fat. I know it makes other people uncomfortable, but hello, I take up space. In fact, I'm not entirely sure how much space I take because I tend to walk into doorways. So I take up even more space than I currently am aware of. And I'm only aware of when I walk into that door. I'm like, oh, taking up more space. Don't mind me. Excuse me, coming through. But it does make other people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Ooh, that's a good question. I like that question. So starting off with just an easy one, right?
I like to just dive right in there.
So the thing that's really interesting is, I don't know, I find it interesting. I don't think a lot of people find it interesting. Most people are telling me things like what was it? I'm a leftist loony. And I was like, oh, well, I'm sure you meant that as an insult, but thank you. So the thing is that we live in a culture of dieting and restriction. And so every single one of us is taught from the earliest we can be taught that it is bad to be fat. It is undesirable to be fat. It is a failure if you become fat. And that if you just happen to be fat for whatever reason, it is now your responsibility to get unfat, because it's just as easy as eating less and exercising more.
Right.
And so most people are really uncomfortable when the word fat is used as a descriptive term, because there's a negative connotation and a stigmatized connotation to this word. Most of us, when we hear the word fat or we use the word fat, we're not meaning it in a good way. We're not meaning it in a fun way. We're not meaning it even in a neutral way. We're usually meaning it as an insult, or even a self-deprecation if we're using it to refer to ourselves. It's never like, I am fat, like
I'm
statement.
fat.
It's
Yeah.
never that. It's like, oh, I'm fat. Oh, or like, oh, I feel fat. Oh, this is so terrible. Usually followed up by statements of how we need to make a correction to this feeling,
Right.
or this way of being, when in fact, neither of those are true. But the fact of the matter is that, like, we just keep getting coached, and it's reinforced everywhere that we are in language, in ways of being, in the sizes of chairs, that fatness is undesirable.
Yeah.
So that's why when you say things like, yes, I'm fat, as a neutral statement,
Yeah.
or even like a joyful statement, like, look at my fatness, yay.
Yeah.
People around you go, you.
Yeah.
I don't know how to respond to that.
Yeah.
And that's why.
Yeah, I think I told you the story when I was in junior high. I apparently was being bullied, and I didn't know until somebody had pointed out that I was being bullied. And part of it was that this person would often say to me, "You're fat," and I'd be like, "Yeah, obviously. Like, hello, like yes. What's your point?" And I just thought that they were like, they needed to repeat the obvious. I wasn't sure what the whole. Again, I'm autistic. I was not diagnosed as a child. So there was a bit of like obliviousness to social cues as well. I didn't know that people were bullying people. I didn't know this was a thing. I didn't know why we would ever do this. But I would just always remember their face when I would be like, yeah, obviously. Like, are you okay? Like, and their response back was almost frustration because I wasn't upset by the statement of the obvious.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I remember the first time, unfortunately, I was not a child when this happened, but I remember the first time that somebody called me fat, and I didn't have a negative reaction to it.
Yeah.
And they just seemed to just be like, just
like,
dead in the water.
Yeah.
They just were like, I don't know where to go from here because I said that to you.
Yeah.
Generally people say, like, generally when people are saying that, it's like their last ditch effort at like hurting your feelings because other things haven't worked. Or sometimes if they're just really fun people, they start there, because they're just trying to break you down.
Yeah.
And when somebody calls you fat and you're just like, yes, you're correct.
Yeah.
Thanks for noticing. That actually is something that they just get stuck. People just get stuck because they mean it as an insult. It's an insult. It's to break you down. It's to stop you in your tracks. It's to make you cry. It's a way to silence people. It's a way to shut the conversation off. And if you don't do that, people just do not compute, and they have no idea where to go from there.
Now, to be clear, if you ever want to make me cry, take me to a parade. If you really want me to gush, take me to like a gay pride parade. I cannot handle myself. It is like full on streams. That's just putting that out there. But calling me fat or ugly or any of those kind of names, I'm just like, cool, what else you got? It just doesn't faze me. However, I know that may be a bit of an anomaly out there and that it does impact people. And as a business owner, I do get this a lot. It's funny when I say like I don't really want to do a lot of video in my business. People are like, why not? Is it because you're self-conscious about your physicalness? I'm like, no, but you obviously are. What? I never brought that up. It's just because I'm lazy and don't really want to brush my hair on any given day. But thanks anyways. But as a business owner, we're fighting this all the time.
Yeah.
And there might have been a delay.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. Oh. Delay. Let me know when I'm back. I'm doing the delay
You're back.
dance.
You can just talk. There's just a bit of delay.
Okay,
I'm just
cool.
letting everybody else know there might be a little delay in our conversation because Tiana is in France and I'm in Canada. So if it sounds like we're just waiting for each other to have a moment, we are.
International moments. Yeah. So you asked me about like being a business owner and dealing with this. And yes, definitely this happens because a lot of the challenges of being a business owner, especially an online business owner, have to deal with showing up. And generally, I mean, that means a lot of different things. But when I'm saying showing up, what I mean is that you're like actually showing who you are. You're going for that know, that like, that trust kind of connection with people so that you can, get them into your programs and your services so that you can actually run your business and make your work happen out here in the world. And a lot of people are stuck where they're not doing the showing up. They're not out there doing the marketing that's necessary. They're not out there making the connections or creating the community that they need to because they don't look the right way, all in quotation marks, because there is an idealized look and like kind of production that is desirable for most people who are online. And we like, if you're an online business owner, you kind of know what this is. These are like generally they're white, they're pretty, we're talking about like, they're feminine presenting. Yeah, they've got like long flowy hair or like some really great haircut. They're like wearing something flowy and gorgeous, it's very stylish. They're in front of, some impeccably styled background. They have on all the good makeup. And like, that's like what is kind of pushed forward as this is what you need to be aiming for. This is your goal if you want to show up and be visible online and be successful. Because if you look like me, you're not gonna be successful. And fact of the matter is that like, well, success
you
is
are successful though.
Success is something that's actually really, really relative. You get to decide what success looks like for you. So ring the little bell. This is like, just like, hi, business knowledge. Because in the end, like, it's your business, it's your work, it's your world, and you're trying to make that happen. And basically, like, if you don't look like these people with this beautiful shiny hair, like, you still got to make it happen, right? If you want your vision to come to life, you still have to find ways to show up, and you still have to find ways to like be out here making those connections and getting people to know who you are and like what you have to offer in the world. But like, if we really like dial it, like come back to what I was talking about this, like, idealized person in a box, these gorgeous talking heads, the challenge with all of that is that it's a bunch of really oppressive ideals and systems that are at work that make us all believe that this is what we need to look like and present as in order to be successful. Like, this is, we're looking at white supremacy here. We're looking at anti-fatness, anti-blackness. We're looking at meritocracy, so like if you don't sound the right way, or you don't have the right accent, or if you don't use the correct grammar, you're looked down upon as if you're less intelligent. Do you have the right credentials? Do you know the right people? Like all of that kind of stuff. All of this is just hierarchical thinking, and it just oppresses, and it also reduces the number of people who are quote unquote successful. In addition, it also limits who can be successful, because if you need to fit into the certain box in order to be successful, well, then you can't be if you're not that. And it's just unfair.
So what's the answer?
Maurice's face is like,
I want the scoop. Yeah, I want the scoop. Like what, how do we get past this? Because I have to tell you that I'm bored of this. Like, and I can only imagine, I only have an teensy bit of some of the marginalization pie that I experience. There are others out there who have way more, and I bet you they're not just bored, right? They're like, literally, this is survival. So how do we do this?
Oh, well, I have a very flippant answer, which sounds on its face rather easy, but actually nothing's easy about it. And so I, introducing my 4-step framework for body liberation.
I need sound effects for that.
I wanted to do this with my hands and have
a little
rainbow.
Sparkly,
like
rainbow kind of
yes,
you go look, it's in a book, which I guess leads into your other product of your book read. But yes. All right. Yeah. So we're the crowd just went wild. 4-step framework. What the heck does that mean?
So 4-step framework for body liberation has a deceptively easy sounding 4 steps. And these 4 steps are iterative. They are not necessarily linear. And each one of them is actually quite a lot of heavy lifting.
Okay. What's number 1?
Step 1. Step 1 is education.
Education.
So, so basically, if you want to know about oppressive systems, if you want to work toward body liberation, you need to understand how oppressive systems show up. You need to be able to recognize them. You need to be able to see how they manifest. You need to be able to notice it when it happens in yourself, like when you are reproducing the conditioning, because we have all been conditioned, coerced, indoctrinated into these systems of oppression. It's not your fault. That's not your fault, because when you were 3 years old, you couldn't choose to opt out of these cultures. Your parents gave it to you, your community gave it to you, your school system, all of that stuff, the media that you consumed, it's everywhere. We're surrounded by it all day, every day. So if you're reproducing this stuff, if this is how you're living your life and the things that you believe, well, of course you do. Because if you have never had somebody give you a different point of view, or help you see, terrible analogy, but the Matrix.
Yeah.
You can't see it. You don't know what you don't know.
That's right.
So step 1 is education, because you cannot fight against a system you neither know nor understand.
Okay. Step 2.
Step 2 is, excuse me, reframing. And the reason why step 2 is reframing, step 2 is actually a really hard step, because what you're doing in this step sounds deceptively easy, because what you're doing is you're looking at and critiquing the stories that you have about yourself, about your culture, about how things are, the things that you believe, who you are, why you do the things you do. You're critiquing all of these stories, and you're sifting through them, Marie Kondo style, holding on to them going, is this one true? Does this one bring me joy? Or is this one that I use to punish myself and
And others.
You know,
Punish
oh yeah,
ourselves and others.
for sure, and others. And if that is true, then basically you now have to look at it and continue to look at it and say, can I rework you so that you now are a story that I can use to move me toward liberation, to move me toward success, to move me toward being in and creating communities of care? Like, can I do that with this story? Can I rework this? Or do I just need to learn how to say, thank you, story, I don't need you anymore. Can you sit down? And that's what you're doing in reframing. It's so much inner work. And it's really one of the hardest steps, to be honest, because it gets dark in there. The stories that are inside your head, the voices that are telling you the things about yourself, like some of that is really hard because it's born out of trauma. It's born out of like the lack and the neglect that we've experienced in our lives, the negative messages that we're given, you know, and even compliments, even things that we have perceived as positive inputs can also be part of these stories that are actually keeping us down. So it's really important to like take your time with this and be gentle. It's going to be hard. It's going to be hard, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with it being hard, because it's hard work. When you are swimming counter to the culture that is around you, you're going to have to work really hard. Really, really hard. And so that's why it's really important to do step number 3.
Okay.
So step number 3 is self-care and resilience building. And I know self-care is a term that has been co-opted, misused, over-applied, so on and so forth. However, it is important to have a practice of self-care because you need to know, like you need to be able to heal yourself and try to like bandage your thinking about yourself and your possibilities. And you're going to be fighting against everybody trying to tell you that you're the one who's wrong because they don't want to do the work, or they don't want to let go of the little piddly privileges that being an enabler of oppressive systems give them. So like, you know, it's hard, it's really difficult, and it hurts quite a lot. So you need to be able to take care of yourself in the face of all of that. But also you need to work on building resilience. And that's building resilience within yourself, but also building resilience around yourself by making community connection. Because like you can only be so strong by yourself. We are all much stronger when we have like people around us who actually care about us, who will help pick up the slack when we need a break. And like, we also need a place to like put our caring, because like we live in these very individualistic societies in the global north where it's all about me and mine. But the fact of the matter is that like, me and mine, yes, let's work on healing that up. Let's work on making that strong and like making sure that we're resourced. But if I have all the things, well, then all these other people don't have the things. And did we liberate anything? I mean, maybe we liberated me, but we didn't break a system. And until we break the system, none of us is free. So ultimately, like, we have to band together. We have to find our people. We have to find those that we can lock arms with, who keep us strong, who we can help to keep strong, because we are all stronger when we are in solidarity and working together. So that's what step 3 is all about. And then there's step 4. which is in service of step 3, but also like, it is also undergirding all of this, right? So step 4 is advocacy. And the importance of advocacy is that, like, you can go and get your needs met. You can go into a situation, for example, because when we talk about fatness, we tend to talk about health, and we tend to talk about health wrong, but that's another thing. We tend to talk about health when we talk about fatness, and we tend to talk about the challenges of getting your needs met in a medical system as a fat person. And so one way you can do advocacy is to be able to walk into a medical office and say, these are the things that I'm here for. These are the things I will not be okay with. These are the things that I need. And I want these things, and you will give them to me. Because if you're able to have that conversation, if you're able to say those things, like, you might not necessarily convince that doctor or that medical professional that you're working with at that moment in time, but you are planting a seed, and that seed may find fertile ground and grow. And somebody who comes behind you, from you just like walking into or entering a waiting room and saying, hey, there's not a chair that accommodates my body here, just by saying something like that to the correct people, maybe that chair won't show up tomorrow or even next week. But at some point, if that seed of advocacy is actually going to find fertile ground, it is possible that someone who comes behind you will have a chair that accommodates their body in that space. And that's why we advocate for ourselves, because it helps us get what we need. It also helps everybody who comes behind us. And ultimately, another part of advocacy is also to be looking out for people around us. What do I see now that I know, now that I have the education, now that I've reframed these stories, and now that I know how to take care of myself, and I have this community of people around me, how do I take care of other people? How do I make changes and call out inaccessibilities and injustices that I not am necessarily experiencing personally, but that I see people around me experiencing? How can I make that change? And that's what advocacy is also about. That's the fourth one.
Okay,
That's the 4-step framework.
So you mentioned this is just, we went through the 4 steps. It was pretty quick. It was like 10 minutes. There's a lot more to do with it. How do we start doing it? What more is involved? Like, how do people actually start this process?
This is a good question. I think that you need to find your own way in, because I can give you like a path and say, do these things and it'll get you there. But that might not work for you, because you're not me. And you have your own situation and your own, like, everything is individual and different about you. So find your own way in. And essentially, Desiree
create the rules.
Create the rules, absolutely. I mean, Desiree Adaway, who is a fantastic activist out here in the world, is said questions. I'm going to butcher this, but basically questions lie the foundation for liberation. And that's the thing, is like, that's how I ended up doing this, is I had a question. I just didn't understand how or why what I was being told about my body and my experience differed from what I was actually experiencing in my body. And I was like, I don't understand why that's different. And I don't understand, am I wrong? Is my perception, is what I'm experiencing wrong? Or is it a possibility that all the doctors and all the pamphlets and everybody who's ever told me these things are wrong? Is that a possibility? And with that question, I went to the internet, like you do, and I asked that question to the internet, and the internet brought me to health at every size. And health at every size is a paradigm that was created by a number of people, and it was published into a book by Lindo Bacon, where what they did was they took all the information about all the studies that have been used to say that, you know, fat is unhealthy and fat is bad, and actually examined it with a lens that was less biased. And they put all this wonderful stuff in the book, and they showed that in actuality, it's not the fatness that's bad for you. It's generally other things that either contribute to the fatness or are a result of the stigma because of your fatness. And those are the things that actually are causing the inflammation. Those are the things that are causing you to get sick and have negative health outcomes. These are the things that are the problem. And like all of the supposed risks that fatness bring can somehow be mitigated with behaviors. They can't necessarily, like, they won't necessarily erase them because that's a myth. But like, if you eat nutritious foods, if you move your body regularly, if you drink water, if you get good sleep, if you minimize your stress, like, no matter the size of your body, you will have better health outcomes generally. It's not for everybody, because there are people who are disabled, there are people who are chronically ill, and like those things are reality. But for most people in most bodies, regardless of the size, as fat as you can get and as thin as you can get, it has the same outcome. So, or a similar outcome, I should say. So basically, like,
so I'm gonna interrupt you here.
You could dig there.
Because what I would like to ask you, though, is if somebody likes the cut of your jib and they're like, but I want to know what Tiana has and is offering here, how do they start that journey with you?
Ooh. This is, okay. How do you start the journey with me? Well, one of the easiest ways for you to start the journey with me is come hang out with me on Instagram. There's lots of good stuff there. And Instagram is a nice way to sort of like dip your toes into what I'm about and the things that I'm talking about. And if you like what you see on Instagram, then guess what? I have a podcast. So I have a podcast called the Live Your Best Fat Life podcast. And on there, I have a mixture of my own riffs on my own experience as a fat person who has struggled with dieting and food and exercise, and just being fat in general. And I'm also having these fantastic conversations with amazing people who are moving the needle when it comes to how we think about fatness in the world today. And I love these conversations, and I think you will too. And those are two great places for you to start getting to know me. And then if you like what's going on, if you like what's going on there, then I have like a host of services that you can come and hang out with me, and like actually start like engaging in, you know, the step one, the learning, and the step two, the reframing. And so like right now I'm actually getting ready to start the Fat Freedom group read, which is a, well, it's a book club, y'all. With a twist, because instead of doing what most people do when they have a book club is like, hey, you have a month, read the book, and then we'll get together for coffee for 90 minutes and we'll discuss the book. Like, that's great, but that always leaves me, or has left me, unsatisfied, because we just can't get into the details. We can't get into the nitty gritty. So what we're doing differently with the group read is we're reading slower. And so we're doing like one chapter every 2 weeks, or one part of the book, depending on the size of the book, every 2 weeks. So you actually have time to read the book, have a life, get some sleep, you know, stare into the existential crisis that is the world today, and still be able to join us having read the text. And so we're having those live discussions every 2 weeks. And I'm also providing like prompts for you to start digesting the text, to like, maybe help you see things that you would not have seen on your own.
Yeah.
Because I'm bringing my lenses as a practitioner and somebody who lives and breathes, you know, destigmatizing fatness and so on, and looking at oppressive systems and how they work. So like, I'm there to help you along the way. So the Fat Freedom Group Read is something that you can do with me. It doesn't matter where you're starting. This group read is for anybody, and anybody who wants to join. It's a learning space. It's open for beginners, and this round, starting the 17th of January, we're going to be reading "The Body Keeps the Score" by Bessel A. van der Kolk, which is a book that is often recommended by therapists to their clients as part of treatment, so you can understand how trauma affects the body. So we're going to be reading that.
There's a but in there. There's a but in there.
Yeah, we're going to be reading this text with. We're going to be reading this text, me, and I'm co-facilitating it with Sarah Marianne Martland of Trauma & Co. Because the truth of the matter is that though this is like a flagship book for how trauma is embodied, it is also a book that was written mainly from the perspective of a person who has a lot of dominant identities. So Bessel A. van der Kolk, cisgender white man, with, higher degrees in education, and a lot of the research that went into the book was, based on United States military veterans. So, there's definitely a spin on it. It's really looking at like one direction, when in fact it's not necessary. It's a good place to start, but it's not necessarily representative of all the different types and kinds of traumas, or even types of the experiences of trauma, because that changes depending on your identities, depending on your marginalizations, depending on where you're from and what you were doing, like all of those things change. And another thing is that fatness is something that is brought up in the book as something that is like really medicalized, and there's just not a great spin that's put in the book. So this is one of the reasons why we're reading this book in community, because if you're reading this on your own, you probably won't find the nuance there, because you're not a professional. This is not what you're doing every day, all day. I am. my friend Sarah is, and so we'll be able to help shine some light on these little nuances and help you really like be able to parse out the things that are useful in the book and leave behind the things that actually are harmful. So that's the purpose of this.
Let me cut in. I know we have a delay. I'm going to cut in here. Hopefully you can hear me. But what I love about this, and I love about reading books that are not great, and having this discussion about it, is because what I often find is people will latch onto a book. Again, like you said, therapists will often recommend it. There's tons of people out in the world that recommend these books. And people will just say to you, have you read such and such a book? And I love being able to respond to that about why it's not great. And I know no one wants to hear that when, like not everyone wants to yuck your yum. Like if you love the book, you love the book. But sometimes you're reading things and you're like, this doesn't feel right for me. And I don't know why. And so being able to do this in a group read perspective allows you to explore that, allows you to see different perspectives. And then it allows you to have a better conversation when people are always trying to shove down these cornerstone foundational books that aren't that great. And so, or that need work, or they need updating, or whatever the circumstances. And so the group read allows you to really step into that and be able to see it from different perspectives and have better conversations. Again, you're just asking more questions.
Yeah, basically. I mean, and the one huge benefit of the group read is that we're reading this in community. So like when you come to the discussion, we're only discussing this part of the book. We're not discussing the entire book. We're only discussing this one part. Mm-hmm. And so like you have lots of opportunity to hear a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different takes. And like something that I really, something that I really do is I encourage you to read the book with your body, not just your head, not just your mind, not just your analytical self, but like with your body, like bring it down. You read it up here, you have these concepts, but like, how did that feel? Where did it hit you? Because
Yeah.
that's information that is amazing, that also will probably stay with you longer and take you further as far as analysis is concerned than what stays in your head. So I love the group read, and I hope that you join us because it's awesome. Join us.
Cool.
Oh, and the
then if they
links
like
are
the
like
group
in the
read,
chat.
oh,
People are awesome putting the links in. Thank you. Oh God. And if you like the group read, then I've got a couple of other options for you, because I be doing stuff. So like if you like the group read, if you enjoyed that, like being in community and having these deep discussions, and maybe you need a little bit more support around your lived experience as a fat person, especially if you have marginalized identities, or if you're somebody who just felt like, they just don't fit anywhere. I have a support group called the Fat Freedom Foundation. And starting 2022, we're meeting second and fourth Saturdays of the month. We get together for 90 minutes and we just share what we have. So I don't have an agenda. I'm not bringing a topic. It's like I open the space and I hold what comes. So like if you had a crappy week, if you had, a story that you were trying to reframe and you just can't work it, like bring that, if you just want to hear other people talk about their own experiences, if you want to just be witnessed in the experience that you're having in your body, in your life, Fat Freedom Foundation is a great place for you. And I've been doing it since July of 2019, 2020, July of 2020. And it's been wonderful. Like, it's been one of my favorite places on the internet. Like, I love watching this community grow and grow together. Like, folks are really taking care of each other in there, and it's beautiful. And I just can't be happier that like this little experiment actually is making just really doing what I wanted it to do. And then if support is like, okay, I don't really need support like that. I sort of want to get more into the nitty gritty. I want to get in the details. I want to learn. I want to move forward, because I want to get out there and, punch things with my fist, metaphorically. Then you could join me for what I'm calling the Fat Freedom Practice Space. So the Fat Freedom Practice Space is a place where I'm going to be doing teaching. In that place, we're going to be a little bit more structured. So we're going to have a topic a month to around and about fatness and oppressive systems and how they intersect. We're going to be talking about that for a whole month. I'll be doing a live teaching where I introduce the topic, and then we'll have different little experiences within the month, within the community, so that you can make it your own, so you can embody it, so you can get practice, so you can be with other people and try things on and try things out. And one of the biggest things I'm trying to do in the practice space is cultivate a culture. That sounds so repetitive, but yes, cultivate a culture where you can ask the hard questions that maybe sound stupid, or be able to ask a question without having the most proper or developed language, the kinds of questions that if you asked them in a Facebook group, for example, you'd get run out because all of the people would be jumping on you to, well, actually you, or to try to correct you. I'm trying to create a place where we actually can practice being in space together, being in community together, in our difference, and learning and moving forward toward liberation together. And so that's why, in order to join the Fat Freedom Practice Space, you need to take the Fat Freedom Toolkit, which is a course where I introduce and help you dive deeper and develop 6 interpersonal skills that I think are really important for helping us relate with one another, especially through differences, and be better at like being in space together, basically. Yeah.
Cool. And then don't forget about Fat Freedom Moments.
Oh dear. So Fat Freedom Moments are something that is I have to talk about something else first. So right now it's January, and I mean, unless you've been asleep.
Let's not talk about the January, because I'm going to cut and paste this out. So let's talk about Fat Freedom Moments, and then I'm going to make it a little long here because we're running out of time.
We're running out of time because I talk too much.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I do something called Love Notes for the New Year, which are
it's just talking about it. Even though I said don't talk about it.
I know.
Don't talk about it. We're gonna. I'm cutting you off here. I'm cutting you off. I know there's a lag. So I'm cutting you off here. You gotta wrap it up. There's a lag. It's just so bad, and you've been frozen like almost this whole time. And so I just want to. We'll have to start these conversations again when the lag isn't so bad. But tell us about Fat Freedom Moments, because it is a great service.
Okay, so Fat Freedom Moments are it's a text message service where I drop into your phone once a week and just give you a nice little gift. Marisa doesn't think they're always gifts, but I give you a gift of body liberation. A gift of body liberation once a week. Essentially what I'm doing there is I'm just trying to interrupt like all of the noise of diet culture that you're swimming in every day, all day, with just these nice little messages directly to your mobile that just remind you to like, you know, drop into your body, or like say hello to your belly, or take a deep breath and realize that you are not a failure, you know? And this is what Fat Freedom Moments are. So it's a nice little support system for you where like you don't have to show up to calls, you don't have to schedule it in, you don't have to even make time or space for it, because it's on your phone, which means that you can check it and think about it and chew on it while you're sitting on the toilet, you know, while you're on the bus or the train on the way home from work. Like that's what Fat Freedom Moments are.
Yeah. Cool. And I'll grab the link for that in a second here. So, yeah, so the lag was so bad. So we're going to have to reschedule this because we didn't really get to talk about all the things I wanted to talk about. And I do love talking with you so much. So let's wrap this up. Tell me, what's one opportunity that you have? Actually, let's do this first. What's one obstacle that you have? An obstacle. What's one obstacle that you have in your business coming up?
Oh my goodness. Obstacles in my business, really, to be honest, it's me. I'm the obstacle. Because like it is real, because like I have such big ideas and like big dreams and so many things that I want to do. And in the end, like I'm chronically ill. I have a kid, you know, I also live in France, so I have a limitation when it comes to the times I'm available to do stuff live. And so like, you know, trying to deal with all of these things while also like trying to move my business forward, like capacity is reduced over here, also because we're in a pandemic, y'all. This is like stressful. So like all of the things I want to do, all the things I think I can do, like I don't have time, I don't have energy, I don't have space for them. And so that's like the obstacle, is like, how do I find the resources that I need to do the things that I want to do while not burning myself out? That's one of the biggest obstacles that I have coming up.
Yeah, that's definitely, I feel that too. I'm always my weakest link. I'm my greatest strength, my weakest link, but all that definitely resonates. So what's an opportunity that you have? What's something you're looking forward to? What's something you're creating in your business?
Oh my gosh, I'm creating systems in my business because I am at a place where I'm ready to move forward. Like I've been doing things kind of just tossing the proverbial spaghetti to the proverbial wall and
Yeah.
just kind of seeing what sticks. And so I'm trying to work toward like actually creating a system where I am no longer the bottleneck and that my business will be able to serve the best way it can, without me having to like control every lever at every moment.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking forward to like what that'll look like.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, I know you were celebrating that you did a standard operating procedure, and I was celebrating that with you.
So good. So
Cool.
good.
Okay. Well, we're just about to the end of my coffee. I would have been finished it a long time ago if I had gone with this. So I am glad I had to top up a little bit. But thank you very much. Let's reschedule. Hopefully we can hit a better internet day.
Oh God, yes.
It's always so random. I know. We're still in work from home. We're still, like you said, across the street. They can have good internet, and where you
They
live,
have fiber.
yeah. Yeah. So the struggle is real, but I want to thank you so much. I'm so glad you finally scheduled this. And I know everyone's going to be excited to come follow you and find you and listen to the podcast and all the things. And so, yeah, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for joining us for Big Questions Medium Coffee. If you're a business owner, brick and mortar, products, services, online, in person, I want to hear from you. I want to ask the questions. We didn't quite get to do what we normally do because there was such a huge lag. I just let Tiana go. But please do apply. It's at createtherules.com/BQMC. I'll put the address up here. But do apply. I will be putting it. It's not quite on my website. I took it down, but I'll be putting it up again very shortly, probably this week. And apply, come on, have a conversation. We'll talk about all the things that are good in the world of business. And yeah, we'll keep going. So Tiana, let's reschedule. Thank you very much for having me. We will talk to everyone soon. Bye, everybody, and Happy New Year.